Welcome to our latest and greatest edition of Better Together Arizona. I am so excited to have two really dear friends with us today for a very thoughtful, caffeinated conversation. First, I'm thrilled to introduce Thomas Barr. You're the VP of Business Development of Local First Arizona. Thomas is a passionate advocate for independent businesses and economic resilience. He works tirelessly to create opportunity and build powerful coalitions that support a more inclusive and thriving Arizona for all. How's that for an intro?
That's pretty good.
And it's all true, which is what I love. Yes. And then in between Thomas and I, we have the Gabe Hagen, who is the CEO of Brick Road Community Corporation. Gabe has built more than just a neighborhood coffee shop. He's created a space where everyone feels welcomed, valued, and empowered. Brick Road Coffee stands as a true example of the positive impact local business can have on both our economy and our collective sense of belonging. Thomas and Gabe, I'm looking forward to this conversation. We actually came up with the idea of the show when we were at Brick Road, which I just think is like so the creative juices were flowing as we were having a nice cup of brew. So, before we get into the more caffeinated part of our conversation, as we all know, we're living in some pretty interesting times right now. And, we have an administration that I think is really hell-bent on division. I think the entire playbook is divide and conquer, right? But we're all leaning in to inclusion and belonging. And so, what inspires your commitment, in particular when it's so windy out there? And I'll start with you, Thomas.
So I know that we all know Kimber, the founder of Local First, and she usually reminds me of why we all continue to do this work. And she says, if not us, then who?
Yeah.
And I, it's just a really important reminder, because if you step away, if you feel fatigued and don't take care of yourself and don't get back into the work, then who else is going to do it?
Who's going to fill the void, right?
Yeah,
and I think Local First is such I don't think folks actually remember Arizona prior to Local First, which is a really good thing. But it puts such a great amount of responsibility on you and Kimber and your Local First team. And so obviously we're grateful for the work you do, and certainly hope everyone's taking really good care, because this is a marathon that we're in, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gabe, you and Jesse have the dream, man, and create Brick Road. And it's all about inclusivity. It's all about a place where everyone that walks through Brick Road Coffee belongs. Brick Road has been much more than a coffee house since its inception. What drives that passion?
Oh, yeah. I mean, talking about interesting times that we live in, we started in 2021. We were just coming off of the first go around 1.0. And so we really leaned into the idea that we wanted to bring people together, right? We are better together. I mean, it's true. So people are stronger when they can connect with each other, whether it be through other local businesses, like what Local First can do, or just connecting with your neighbor or people that share your values. So that was really the original goal, and it's still there. But now I would say, now that we're in 2.0 in this really uncertain time, it's really to remind people, you talk about the division, they're trying to divide and conquer us.
Yep.
And our strength is our togetherness, and it's our community. It's connecting with people that you share values with, that you have this bigger vision for what the world could look like. And it's that can fill your cup of coffee, really, emotionally and spiritually, whatever it is. And so it's really trying to create that space now. How do we create a foundation for our community to connect and really get through this and help hold each other up when we're feeling rough.
And I think, and be solutions oriented too. From a one community standpoint, we recently launched Arizona Leadership Network, which we're so proud of, and we just had our inaugural event a week ago, and it was very bold and courageous. And we knew that we were out there with the way that we were approaching ALN, and people didn't want to leave. The sense of community that they felt, I think also the sense of like responsibility of like, it is very clear what we're doing with Arizona Leadership Network, that we want to have the tough conversations. Like, this is a place where everyone's safe, where you're not going to be judged. We know that we have a variety of viewpoints because we're human beings, right? And we have vastly different experiences, but we also absolutely believe that we agree on more than we disagree on. I think folks are afraid to have conversations right now, and we have to reset that table and say everyone is welcome. No one's going to be judged. There's no bad idea, and how do we get to a place where we can agree and be solutions oriented and move forward on things so that we create a sustainable state for everyone in this great state, and obviously in our nation too. So yeah, all that inclusion, belonging, local, and a cup of coffee.
A lot of that falls back to vulnerability too. Like, it takes courage to be vulnerable in those conversations where you may end up realizing that you have to shift your viewpoint a little bit based off of a conversation. That vulnerability and that's courage to go into a conversation with somebody.
We have to tell people that it's okay to evolve, right?
Yes.
And right now it seems like, like you have to be so firm on things. And, obviously there's things going on in our state that give us some great concern. And what we know from a one community standpoint is like, number one, we never judge, but also we're here to walk alongside of you. And if that journey is 3 to 5 years, before you're like able to stand beside us or be out front, then the time is whatever the time is. Like, it's none of this needs to be predetermined. And I think folks are in a hurry right now. And if we're not kind of doing things on our timeline, then maybe some of that judgment comes up. But yeah, just being kinder human beings. Okay, so in speaking of kindness and like shifting mindsets, I think Thomas, you and Kimber and your team have done such a great job in saying shift the way you shop for 20 years, right? And again, like I think you've absolutely changed the entire landscape of Arizona. And then Gabe, with what you and Jesse are doing, you decided that you were going to be a pillar of Tempe, right? That you were going to be a place that everybody that walked through the door could call home. Why do you think that local businesses and coffee houses are such important pillars of just civic life in our state? And I think you've touched on it a little bit, but it seems to me it's the sense of community.
Yeah, well, I think all of us are familiar with the term third space, and I think that, through Brick Road and locally owned businesses, really Brick Road creates a safe third space for a lot of people, right? And I think we forget that how important those places are and those spaces are.
And while we all get third space, but I don't want us to assume that the folks that are listening are tuning in.
Right.
So talk about third space.
So a third space can be any place that is not your home or work, that you go to frequently, that you feel a sense of community in, that you meet friends, family, people in the community in. It could be a coffee shop. It could be a record store. It could be anything that you feel comfortable in, that you find community in. So we find that in a lot of locally owned businesses, right? That's why they're so important, those brick and mortar spaces where we see people, we break bread, we have conversation. And it's funny that, like, again, that's how this conversation came about. we were literally just in a third space at Gabe's place. And so those things that come from those conversations within those places, I think, lead to action, lead to relationships, lead to conversation that we need to be having, right? And in a world of isolation, it's critical that we support those places and continue to find them and uplift them and show up for them. So, yeah.
I absolutely agree. Anything you want to add?
I was just going to say, from a place, we create that third space, right? A lot of people give credit to Brick Road for something. I pay the rent. I staff employees. The magic that comes out of Brick Road is from the incredible people that come in day and are willing to connect with their neighbors, connect with people, and have these conversations that will evolve to a podcast or will evolve to
right. But
action.
I mean, there's truth in what Thomas
Yeah.
is saying.
You have to enable that.
You created a safe space, right? And I think it's I go to Fame on Central and came back so often, and I've had some really, really remarkable conversations in there over the years, and I just feel like whenever I'm at a table with whomever it is I'm talking about, I forget that anyone's even around us, right? I just feel like we're tuned in, we're moving whatever it is we need to move along, and then I get up and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm just hanging out Fame, and now I'm gonna go on my way. So that is the feeling that Brick Road brings to so many people, and you don't just pay the rent, Gabe. But that was nice. I like that. I like that.
If you're looking to find local businesses and don't have anything to do on Saturday, November 8th, come out to Arizona Fall Fest. We've got over 250 local vendors. Brick Road Coffee will be there. One Community will be there. Come with your family. It's a free event at Hance Park in downtown Phoenix.
Brick Road, come check us out. We're in Tempe. We also are in Mesa now under Empower Coffee Roasters and our wholesale roasting company, Prism Coffee Lab. So check us out. Holiday shopping is always a great time of year. We're working on curating some nice fun bundles for the family. So.
Okay, so I want to dive into, what led to this podcast, right? We're having a conversation. The current inhabitant of the White House was just in Asia, and I'm very happy to hear that the trade war with China has at least come down a notch. But we've been in Liberation Day with the tariffs around the world since April of this year. And I don't think that we're getting an honest viewpoint on how these tariffs are actually impacting everyday Arizonans and Americans and small businesses like yours, Gabe. And when we were talking in one of our favorite third spaces, we had a whole conversation about like, what does it cost for a cup of coffee? Since Liberation Day. So can you get into it for us?
Yeah, so I went into my full nerd fantasy and I was like, let me just go through my invoices and I want to break it down. Because I think there's a journey that coffee comes from. It starts from the farm, the farmers in these countries where coffee grows, which is not the United States.
Unless it's Hawaii.
Unless it's Hawaii or Puerto Rico. Those are the only.
Is Puerto Rico a part of the United States?
It is, surprisingly.
I'm not sure everyone knows that.
I don't think so either, but
they do now.
They do now.
They do now.
Yes.
A third space and Puerto Rico.
But
we are having a good day.
And those are the only two U.S. coffee growing regions. So that accounts for less than 1%. It might even be way smaller of coffee consumption in the U.S. annually. So there's no way we can internalize our coffee production into the U.S. So we rely on other countries.
99% comes from somewhere other than the United States of America.
The top three regions are going to be Brazil, Colombia for your Arabica, and then Vietnam is actually one of the top coffee producing regions for Robusta coffee.
Okay.
So I went through and I was like, how do I share this story and what that really counts and how it comes through, and what is that journey of a coffee green bean coming from the farm all the way to my roastery and then ultimately into this cup of coffee, right? And so I put together just what I paid for a recent order of green coffee, and base green coffee for my importer was around $4.20. And where that price comes from, that comes from the farmers and the specialty market set that price. So there's the commodities-based market, which is kind of what underlays that price, and then the grade of specialty is the premium. But then you have the importers paying for the shipping. You have to get it from point A to point B.
Right.
They still have payroll. They still have to have a building. So there's overhead, there's admin, there's a margin needed. A business is still going to need a margin. Mm-hmm. But now we have this ugly little 95-cent tariff on that. So instead of paying $5.80, which is what that coffee would have cost if there was no tariffs, I paid $6.75 because my importers, as they should, they just move that direct cost over to us.
Right, it just comes to you, the consumer.
Yep. Well, it comes to my roastery.
It comes to your roastery from a wholesale standpoint.
From a wholesale standpoint, yep. And so this is what it looks like for that. The other side of this is when you take green coffee and you roast it, you lose weight. So it doesn't take a pound of green to make a pound of roasted coffee. It takes 1.22 pounds of green to make 1 pound of roasted. So that adds additional costs. So now for a pound of roasted coffee, I'm paying $7.09 just for the green.
Okay.
I'm about $2 for roasting, labor, all that fun stuff, 80 cents for packaging, shipping, logistics, 50 cents, overhead, 45 cents. And these are all just kind of averages like where they are, and profit margin, 50 cents. But now there's that big, ugly $1.16 that is added on there.
Yeah.
So instead of being able to wholesale for in the $11 range, which is where we ideally wanted to be, we're now at $12.50 a pound to wholesale. So now Brick Road is buying it for $12.50 a pound. And this is where the math gets really small micro, because obviously a pound of coffee can be divided so many different ways.
Okay.
But let's look at a latte. A latte is 1 double shot of espresso. At least this one is.
All
and
right.
That's what I use for my basis. You're going to see a lot of the upfront costs on overhead. Coffee shops are expensive. These obviously aren't very expensive in comparison. So we pay about $2 per latte for overhead, rent, utilities, $1.25 for labor because we pay about $16 starting an hour.
Okay.
Profit 80 cents. The cup, lid, sleeve, 75 cents.
And real quick, how do you break that down? So you pay an average $16 an hour, and you figure how many lattes you're selling an hour, or?
Yeah, so we break that down based off of the time it takes to make a latte. So a latte takes anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. So we take that wage, divide it to a minute cost, and then we
got it. Okay.
Figure that out. So for one person, now it can, anyway, there can be all sorts of different ways to do it, but that's how I did it for this purpose. You have the milk, you have the syrup, all of that fun stuff. And tucked over here in this corner is that little red bar. That's an ugly tariff. Doesn't need to be there. And so what that means is a medium vanilla latte like this, I charge $5.90. It now costs me $5.95, not per pound. I don't know why. I forgot to update that part. But it cost me $5.95 to make this latte. So that's 5 cents per latte added on.
Losing?
Yeah. Because I haven't raised my prices yet.
So this is a loss leader.
It's eating from my margin. So my profit, it's technically 75 cents instead of 80, because there's profit in that calculation. But that's what I need to be able to make my rent, to be able to make my stable job income, right? This is where the math gets real scary, because you convert it. Okay, so if you're just assuming 5 cents per latte, Brick Road on an average day sells 215 cups of something. So assume a latte. Every day, it's costing us $10.75. Every week, 75. Every month, it's costing us 322. Annually, just that one. And this is just a baseline. This isn't even the extreme examples of tariffs. It's $3,800 a year. So small businesses like those that Thomas support and mine, we have two options. We can raise our prices. Makes sense, right? It's just a nickel. Just raise it a nickel, right? Keep everything kind of the same, raise it a nickel. Well, what happens when next week the tariff doubles? Or what happens when...
I mean, depending on what's on True Social and where things are coming from, there was 100% tariff on top of, I think, a 50% tariff that was already in place, right?
Right. And so that's where that fluctuation can get really scary. So from a business owner, you want some stability for your things. So typically what most businesses are going to do, they're going to cut expenses. It's going to impact quality. Going to impact employees. So what would that look like for Brick Road? If we were just trying to save that $322.50 a month, we're cutting 21 labor hours. Means I'm losing 0.13 FTE, cutting a part-time job. Arizona has 1,800 coffee shops in Phoenix metro area on average.
So if we do the math you just did, that's 900 full-time jobs, or
210 full-time jobs.
All right.
210 full-time jobs. It's about $7 million in tariff costs. This is the impact.
Oh my gosh.
And this is assuming everybody does what Brick Road does. Brick Road's not the busiest coffee shop here. There's coffee shops that sell much more coffee on a daily basis. There's coffee shops that sell less. So it's a nice average, middle of the road.
Yeah, I think the other thing to consider too is that the tariffs aren't new. So, like this has been going on for some time. So the cutting expenses, cutting costs is something that all businesses have been trying to do all year.
Well, like portions have become smaller, right? Like there's been a couple of different ways that
cutting things from the menu that might be too expensive, different things. They try to do as much as possible for as long as possible to wait it out so that they don't have to raise prices. Because again, that's the easiest way to try to keep stability. Because if you automatically go to, okay, we're going to eat the cost, raise 5 cents. What happens when your straws cost 10 more, when your cups cost 5 cents more? Right. And it just keeps going and going and going. Yep. So now, and I've talked to businesses all across the board. I talked to a furniture store who's held off on raising prices for as long as possible. And now he's got to raise them because it's just unfeasible anymore. So we're seeing that across the board in all these businesses. And one thing that I think about is, this is the direct impact on the business, the jobs, right? And the increased expenses and all those things. But think about all of the businesses that Gabe does business with that might be impacted too. So if he has less business because his prices might be going up or he has less people working there, maybe I have to wait in line a little longer and I don't want to. And so I'm just going to leave.
Go down the road.
I'm going to go down the road. That's less money that he's spending with all of his vendors, which then, that's the ripple effect.
It's just this ripple.
Yep. And that's exactly it. I mean, even just looking at it from a Brick Road standpoint, that we're talking about barista jobs. We're talking about entry-level jobs, the jobs that a lot of people that are in college, going to school, these are the jobs they're taking. Higher menu prices mean it's going to be more expensive for things to happen. You're going to continue to see this ripple throughout. And
then people are just going to be like, you know what, I'm going to have my cup of coffee at home, right?
Right. And even then, like, you're seeing the cost of retail coffee change because now all of a sudden instead of seeing 12-ounce packages, which, by the way, used to be 16-ounce packages.
Right. I mean, that's my point.
Now they're 10 ounces.
Everything's getting smaller, right? So the price is they're trying to stay the same, but you're getting, obviously the price
like things like ice. They used to be 10 pound bags. Now they're 7. Yeah, they changed that over COVID. Yeah. Same price.
And so that we feel like we're still spending roughly the same amount.
The prices haven't changed. Yeah. It's magic. This ripple effect.
So what are the trends you see from customers, right? What's their response to tariffs? The furniture store, do they find that business is down or that's the main concern, I'm going to guess?
Yeah, sort of. We can all put ourselves in the minds of when our wallets are being pinched, right? So what are the first things to go? Things that are not necessities, right? So do I need to go get a cup of coffee? Do I need to go to a dessert place? Like when I'm pressured, what are my reactions when I need to eat, clothe, take care of things at home, take care of kids, whatever it is. The pleasures of things that are out there. You just spend less money or you figure out ways to do it differently. I could go to Brick Road and buy a pound of coffee and then come home and make my coffee for, a couple of weeks rather than, go a few times a week to Brick Road. So consumers just shift their behaviors depending on, where they're being pinched.
And that's one of the main reasons why coffee is considered recession proof, because people will still drink coffee, but whether they're coming to get this or buying a bag of coffee is going to be how they shift their behavior.
Well, and I've read some articles, a couple of articles that kind of said like the top 10% are like kind of doing well, but everybody in the middle and on the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder are just really, really, really feeling it, right? And so, and that's the majority of folks, right? And then, we don't have actual reporting because people get fired if they report things. So we've just believed all year that the economy was much softer than what we were hearing. And I think we see it. We see it from a full swing standpoint. Business is down from a one community standpoint. Like we're down like 25%, which is exactly what we expected. I'm like, okay. So we came into this year and had already like instituted a number of things where we're just like, okay, everything's slimming down because we're likely going to have to, be operating on a relatively smaller budget. You know?
Yeah. I was talking to a business owner who has ran a importing business of just like goods and statues, different things like that he then sells to like retail outlets all throughout Arizona. And he was not knowing whether or not he should hit the button and order a new shipment for the holiday season because of the threat of the 100% tariff on China. Right. And so he was at a crossroads of, do I order more inventory and by the time it gets here have to pay essentially, double of what I am planning to pay, or do I not?
Do I try and
just
wait it
exhaust my current inventory and sell less to the retailers, right? And so it's just like all these things are happening in the background and we don't know that they are. The furniture store that I brought up, he was like, I'm going to try to buy more from U.S. manufacturers of beds if I can. But guess what? All of those beds they're manufacturing, their springs come from other places.
Of course,
their wood comes from other. Yeah. Like, there's no ending in sight to like where these other companies source things from.
I do think that this is like a really teachable moment for everyday Americans, and that is like this is a global economy, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's so interesting. I mean, I think one of the things that's been interesting to me with the China tariffs is like when they really put the brakes on like the rare earths, right? Mm. And how that's in like everything, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so that, and this is what's crazy. We mine it here and then over 90% goes to China to be like manufactured or finished. And then it ships back here, right? Mm-hmm. So, do I think that we need to have more manufacturing and finishing of rare earths here? Mm-hmm. Clearly. I mean, I think that's it's a threat to our country if we can't get those things, right? But then also it's mind blowing to me that like, okay, here it comes out of these mines and then it goes a world away to get finished to come back here, and we are absolutely totally dependent on being able to work well with others, which we're having some difficulty doing right now. I mean, I'm on some tourism boards and I don't remember what the actual figure is, but I think we're down. Canadian visitors is down like 16%. It's really
internationals.
And so those are people that should be coming now and purchasing your coffee, Gabe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And many folks that come here, in particular Canadians, have second homes here. So that's a customer that's not going through your furniture owner store, right? I mean, I think we really need to come to a place where we understand how interconnected everything is, and stop, falsely believing that it's all like very siloed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, like, what do you want folks to take away from today? Like, what's the call to action? Is it, and you and I've had this conversation, Thomas, and I think when we came into this year, we said we have to get back down to the really simple things.
Yeah, I think it's just back to basics. Like we need to remember the impact of our dollars and how we spend them, spending them with inclusive businesses, spending them with local businesses, like finding businesses that are, really showing up. I am just in awe right now. I mean, we're in a space right now where SNAP benefits are about to end in a day. And what do I see? I see local businesses stepping up, offering free meals, offering discounted meals, doing everything that they can. What I'm not seeing is like massive global businesses saying, you know what, you can come get a free meal here. And so it just is a reminder that like our community businesses,
well, it's a sense of community, right? Because we care for one another. We work really closely with so many other LGBTQ based orgs and, Prisma Community Care. Jess Leach is just a remarkable leader and reached out to all of us yesterday and said, I want to start, we want to start working with the organization where you can come and get the fresh vegetables and what have you.
Yeah.
And she's like, and we're going to need some volunteers. So can you all rally up some volunteers? And our team was like, yep, we got you. Like, we're in. And so everybody's just pitching in. We're like, absolutely. This is so incredibly important just for the health and well-being of our LGBTQ plus inclusive community, right? Like, how can we make this easier on folks? So,
Yep.
Yeah, and here's my question, because I feel like we figured out this year, next year really, really concerns me, right? Because I think that finding a way to make those initial cuts and to hold off on the price raises and, for a limited amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
We can figure that out. I think that if this remains the same going into next year, which I feel like in particular for inclusive based organizations, it is going to remain this way, at least through the midterms. And who knows if there's a change in the midterms, or after the midterms rather, going into 2027. I think, I am so concerned that I think we're going to go into 2026 and you're going to start seeing some folks close their doors. I really am.
It's just bad for business.
Yep.
Like, right, just again, back to basics. Like, how do we drive a thriving economy? We work with businesses and local community and try to drive more economic activity locally. We see the trends over the years, ever since COVID. How many restaurants do you know are closed on Monday? A lot more, right? Because it's actually more expensive to be open than to serve people. That's crazy. Like, it's crazy that we actually live in a world where people are comfortable. Like, it is normal to remember that your favorite restaurant is just closed on Monday. Mm-hmm. And so it is harder to operate a brick and mortar today than it was last year. It is getting more expensive. It is especially in Phoenix, especially in the greater Phoenix area, in Arizona, but in greater Phoenix area, it's really hard to maintain it. And so think about your favorite restaurant closing. And then not only that, but all of the accountants and the web developers and the graphic designers and the printers that they spend money with. Yeah. And those are jobs, that's tax revenue, that's going to our schools, to our roads, to our libraries, to our fire departments. Like, it's going to impact everyone in every way. Yeah. So
I'll add one thing that I want to bring as a silver lining. Not that there is one really, but I think as a testament to like what Local First does. I have met over the last 8 months so many more small local businesses doing intentional procurement.
Absolutely.
Shifting that. And so
you vote with your wallet every day.
Right.
Like, that was our first tagline. I mean, I think absolutely folks have to be very, very intentional and strategic. And, the rising tide lifts all boats, right? So we want to help those that are helping us and align with, locally owned small businesses and, hopefully get through this all together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to share?
I don't think so. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. If you're in Tempe, swing by and see Gabe and his awesome team at Brick Road Coffee. And, if you don't know where to go for, whatever local business needs you need, hit the Local First website and take a look. 3,000 plus businesses.
We have 6,000 on the directory now.
6,000 on the directory. Yeah. Well, there you go. That'll teach me. I haven't looked in a while and it's doubled. So thank you both for your great work and being here today.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you.